Hello and welcome back to the Viking Code School demo for HTML in action. So let's take a look here at some semantic HTML tags. So what do we mean by semantic HTML tags? Well, things like div are, like we said, very generic. So div can be pretty much anything. It's not uncommon for a div to be created and then you would give it an ID of header or footer or article, post, anything really. Just because basically what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, this is a generic element. Like a div can be pretty much anything. So we're going to give it a name with the ID and treat it as whatever it is that we want it to be. Well, this became a very common thing, and it became so common that HTML said, well, we have all these people, these developers, creating divs that we're giving them names for things that every website is probably going to have. Things like nav, header, section, a blog post or article, a sidebar, a footer. So in HTML5, they decided on a convention, something that to call these elements so that they could put that in the actual HTML5 specification, and we can have these elements to work with that are now semantic in our markup, meaning that they are called literally what they are meant for. And that will also affect SEO, and it's definitely a very positive and useful thing to be using in your website. So let's take a look here. Let's start out with the top, and we'll go to the bottom. We have a header here. So header is fairly self-explanatory. It's going to be something that you put at the top of your page, most likely, but also could be put at the top of any element that is going to contain something like a body, or that you want to divide in multiple sections. So like say if it was perfectly valid for me to have like a header at the top of my page, and then maybe some kind of main element with its own header, and then its own section with some kind of title, and then a footer. I could have like this, and then I could still have a footer outside this and a header on the outside there. I could even have a header section and a footer or something similar in the side for the sidebar. But the idea here is that the header is the header of whatever it goes in. So this is the main header, and it contains our nav. So along with the title of our site, or whatever you want to call it, HTML in action. So our navigation, once again, instead of using a div, we have this nav element that we can put our links to the various pages of our website. So nav is a semantic tag because its name describes what its purpose is. Section is also a semantic tag because it, unlike a div, it is a section of content. Specifically, they say if you have a section, you should be able to give it a title. If you can't give it a title, then chances are you have something more like a div. So that's a good way to differentiate between the two when you're reaching for one element or the other. You can ask yourself, does this piece of content have a title that I can give it? If it does, then it's most likely a section. If not, it's more likely a div. Articles. Articles are commonly used for things like news, independent items, blog posts, that kind of thing. So instead of just having a div and giving it an ID of blog post, you can use an article. Aside. I might have mentioned this already, but asides are commonly used for things like sidebars. So, if you have navigation on the side for archives in a blog post or something like that, you would use an aside to contain all those. Footers, much like headers, are fairly self-explanatory. This would go at the bottom of your main page, or a smaller element that you would like a footer. So the rest of these, we don't necessarily have any more semantic tags to look at. In the next video, we'll take a look at a little bit of formatting and escaping